Who were the founding nations of Canada? As we all know, every country has a founding nation. And I'm here to talk about who were the founding nations of Canada. First of all, Canada was founded on July 1st, 1867, which is why Canada's Day is on July 1st. And the founding nations are the French, British, and Aboriginals. Aboriginals are a group of First Nations people who already lived in Canada before the French and British came to Canada. The British came to Canada in the late 15th century. After war, the British settled in Ontario. The French came to Canada in late 15th century. After war, the French settled in Quebec, which is why so many people in Quebec speak French. But what really made the French and British settle in Canada? They heard about good fishing to trade for other goods. They heard about good place for trading jewelry, fur trade with the First Nations, like trading beaver to make clothes, and sheltering themselves. Here's the image of them trading. And what made the British settle in Canada? They heard about good fishing, farming, jobs, and resources in Canada, and resources such as gold, iron, copper, metal, etc. Better life beliefs-wise, they heard about truth, courage, honor, self-reliance, and perseverance. Here's the image of them trading on a ship. Since they are the founding nations of Canada, what contributions did the French and British do for Canada? For French is one of the languages we speak in Canada, and they help build buildings and forts in Quebec and Canada too. British, in 1807, the British abolished selling or buying slaves in Canada. And the British formed a company, which is one of the first companies in Canada, and it is called Hudson Bay. Both the Canada flag's colors come from England and France. White from England and red from France. That's kind of it for the first part of the lesson or the presentation, but here's the second part, which is still kind of related. It's still about going to Canada, but it's mainly about immigration to Canada and home children in Canada. From the British, they had over 800,000 immigrants. And from the French, they only had 1,000 at the beginning, but it was increasing more and more. For the home children, who do you think the home children are? You might not really know, but here I'm going to talk about it and tell you who they are, why they came to Canada, and so they immigrated to Canada in the 18th century. Children were under 14 years old and treated like slaves. Have you have an idea? Well, let me tell you. They were people or children who were orphans. They didn't have parents, and they got sent to orphanages, and they were treated really badly in Britain. Why did the home children come to Canada? Why did they immigrate to Canada? Well, lots of children were in orphanages back then, but when they moved to Canada, maybe not. Families treated them badly in Britain. When they moved to Canada, maybe not. What do you think? Do you think they were better living in Britain or Canada? Before, when they were in Britain, before they settled or before they immigrated to Canada, they had poverty. Some were living in streets. They did a lot of work. Food was very expensive, and there was a lot of pollution, which is bad for their health. But after, when they immigrated to Canada to live there, they didn't get abused. They were a part of a family. Didn't do as much work. Food was cheaper, and the air was clean. If I was home children, I would, of course, choose to immigrate to Canada immediately. What do you guys think? You guys may comment it down below, and I would love to see it. And for all the hardships and the memorable times, they've been very hardworking. Here's a question. Canada Post released a special stamp in 2010 in honor of the home children. So just one more way which Canadians can acknowledge the contributions and hardships of the home children. You guys can also comment that below. Here's what I think. I think we can have a Home Children's Day where we can eat what the home children eat, dress up like them, and put up some fireworks. And that day will come true for the home children. They will be very blessed. And yeah, that ends and concludes to this presentation. Hope you guys learned something. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And have a wonderful day. Bye.